everyone. Welcome back to my podcast. My name is Ari and I am the host of this podcast. And how are you guys doing today? I hope you are having a wonderful day. I know I am. At the time I'm recording this, it's actually quite late at night. So I had an amazing day today. I got to see some family. They shared some exciting news. It was just all around a fun day. And now I am so thrilled to be recording this podcast episode for you guys to hear. And in this week's episode, I'm going to be reading and reviewing a book that was very kindly sent to me by Jennifer Chambliss Bertman. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for sending me your amazing book, Sisterhood of Sleuths. It was such a fun read, and I'm so thrilled and excited to be doing this episode, so thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. I really appreciate it. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this week's episode where I talk about and review, and then later on interview Jennifer for this episode. So let's go ahead and get into it. So before I really talk about this book, and I guess kind of get started on this episode, I just want to give a little fair warning that I cannot say the title correctly, I feel like. So this kind of sounds probably dumb to some, but I feel like I cannot say my THS's. I feel like I have a problem with this, but then I hear other people say their THS's, and I feel like they sound the same way I do, so I don't think I say it wrong. I just think it sounds funny, so just try to ignore that, which you probably won't now that I literally brought it to your attention. But yeah, just a little fair warning. I feel like I cannot say it correctly, but it's all fun and it's all great. So let's go ahead and talk about the synopsis and summary of what you can expect in this middle grade book, Sisterhood of Sleuths. So this book is a middle grade, as I have said. It came out last year, I believe, so it's still like pretty new kind of. It's less than a year old. So in my opinion, it's still fresh and new. And this book follows the main character, and her name is Maisie. So when the book starts, we kind of see that Maisie is going through kind of like friend drama and trouble. So her best friend that she's had for years is starting to not really seem like her best friend anymore. Things are starting to change because of their age. They're getting older. Things are just starting to change a lot for them, and they're just not as close as they used to be. And it's kind of hard for Maisie to realize this and to actually understand what is happening. So we have that going. And then one day, her mom, she owns this like antique store, and one day she's helping her mom, and a box arrives at the door, and it's a box full of Nancy Drew books. But not only that, in that box, there's also a picture of her grandma, Jacuzzi, and two other women that are with her in the picture. So later that day, they go to her grandma's, and they tell her about the books and about the picture, and the grandma says, "That's not me. I don't know who that is," when they clearly know it is her. So she denies that that's her in that picture, and now Maisie is just wondering, well, why is she denying it, and what is with this whole thing? So the rest of the book basically follows Maisie and her two new friends that she makes, Nell and Cam, and they're kind of like adventure slash journey, like their mystery adventure that they go on to try to find out what is up with these Nancy Drew books and what is her grandmother hiding? What secrets is she hiding? So this book is really wonderful if you want something that is kind of like heartfelt about friends and family and learning like family secrets, but also mixed in with a little bit of like Nancy Drew vibes, because obviously that's what this whole thing is like surrounding kind of the whole Nancy Drew books. So I loved that it was kind of like a Nancy Drew mystery in its own way that I feel like is more relatable for middle grade readers in today's day and age. I think it was so amazing and I really enjoyed it. It was really easy to read as well. It wasn't very difficult or hard, and even though it was around 300 pages or so, it was a very quick read to me and it did not drag or feel like 300 pages. I think it was perfect. So I really recommend checking it out, you guys. It was so amazing. I loved it so much. So be sure to go check out Sisterhood of Sleuths. I will have the link in this episode description to purchase this wonderful book. So be sure to go check it out. I know Jennifer Chambliss Bertman will really appreciate it and you'll be supporting her. So be sure to go check it out. I really do recommend it. And you guys already know what time it is. Yes, it is time for the interview for this week's episode. I know, I love that part too. It's so much fun for me to do it. So these are like my favorite parts of the whole episode. So I know you guys are excited. I am. So let's go ahead and jump into the interview that I got to do with the author of Sisterhood of Sleuths, Jennifer Chambliss Bertman. Hi Jennifer, thank you so much for doing this interview here with me today. I really, really appreciate it. Before we begin, I just want to say thank you so very much for sending me your amazing middle grade book and for allowing me to read and review it here on my podcast. And just real quick, how is your day going today?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here and my day's going great so far. Thank you. How about you?
That is so great to hear. I am so happy that you are having a wonderful day. And thank you so much for asking about me. My day is actually going really great today. A lot of good things have happened today. and the day is not over yet. So I feel like there are so many more wonderful things that can happen today. But now let's go ahead and get into this interview. So the first question I have for you today is I feel like pretty basic and probably one you get asked quite often, but I just wanted to know what inspired you to become an author?
What inspired me to become an author is my love of stories. I've always loved stories of all kinds, reading a great story, of course, but also watching a movie with a great story or a television show with a great story, playing a video game with a great story, listening to someone tell me a great story. I really just love a good story. So that was definitely part of my inspiration. And also, I love children's books. I've loved children's books, well past the age of being a child. It's just been my favorite type of book to read. And so to be able to write some of my own has just been a dream come true.
That is so nice to hear that you're making your dream a reality. I feel like I always mention this and talk about this on my podcast, but it's always so wonderful and nice to hear when authors tell me that it's been their dream since they were a child or a little kid. And I feel like now they're making it their reality. So I'm always smiling when I hear that response. So I'm so glad to hear that. And also, I completely 100% agree with you. Everything is good when it has a story. Like even music, I feel like that's a more kind of selected type, I would say. You kind of have to be not born with it, obviously, but I feel like it's a gift to have where you can share a story through music. I feel like that's very powerful, and I personally love music so much. I like to sing, I like to play the piano, so I feel like you said, when something, whatever it is, if it's a book or a movie or a song, if it has a story to tell and the person creating it is a storyteller, then yeah, it's gonna be great no matter what. So I completely agree with that. And also, I still read little picture books for children. Is there really an age meant for it? Yeah, they're meant for children, but is there really ever an age where we grow out of them? I don't think so. I'm already in high school, so I don't know how other people may take that, but for me personally, I don't really care what others think of me, and they bring me happiness. And I think sometimes little kid stories, little picture books, are so wholesome. And what I miss sometimes in middle grade books or YA books, young adult books, is that they never have any adorable little illustrations, and they never really have color except for on the dust jacket or the book cover. So it's really nice, especially in your book, you had little illustrations throughout, so it was nice to see a little bit of something to put to my mind. And obviously when you read a book that doesn't have illustrations, you come up with your own things in your mind, but it was really nice to have a little bit of a picture. And like I just said, I love reading storybooks, so I don't think you can ever really grow out of it. And yeah, I love that answer though. I love that you're making your dreams a reality. I loved that your passion for becoming a writer has come from your own passion of loving what you do. So I really admire that, and I think that is very wonderful. And now let's go ahead and move on to the next question I have for you. Where did you get the idea to write Sisterhood of Sleuths? Was your story kind of developed over a set period of time, or was it kind of just one day you were you know what, I kind of want to write a story that's a mystery, adventure, middle grade? How did this whole story come to be?
The idea for Sisterhood of Sleuths was definitely developed over time. I didn't think of it all at once. I got the idea initially thinking about Nancy Drew, thinking about how much I loved the Nancy Drew books when I was young. I was introduced to them when I was 7, and I just gobbled them up. I thought they were great and went to the library to find as many of them as I could, and found, some of the various Nancy Drew series and read as many as I could. And that was kind of my gateway to discovering Lois Duncan and more mystery writers, and just being a lifelong mystery lover. So that was one part of the idea, was thinking about that childhood love for Nancy Drew books, but also thinking about, from an adult perspective, my admiration for Nancy Drew and really the history behind the series. I had started reading about it long before I started writing this book, just the history behind the series, and I found it really fascinating. And so it was just kind of a mixture of thinking about these different things, what Nancy Drew meant to me when I was young, what she means to me as an adult, some of the interesting history tidbits behind the series, and how it has stuck with us for so long. So that was the beginning of the idea, stemmed from that. Obviously, there's a lot more in the book, but it just grew out of that.
I mean, honestly, when I ask authors that question, I kind of already expect that answer, that it was over time, because no one can think of a whole story in one day. I mean, I'm sure you could, like I've done that before, but I've never actually brought it to life. And I know obviously writing a whole book is a huge journey that takes years. So I kind of suspected that you would say that, but I love how you got it from your love of the Nancy Drew books from when you were a little girl. You said 7, I believe. I think that's so wonderful that like this has been a book. When you really think about it, it's been like a book in the making since you were a little girl. Before you even knew it, you were gonna create this book when you got older. So I think that is so incredible, and just how life works. And like I said, the one thing I love about books, like I just said a little while ago, is that you never really outgrow them, I feel like, which is the wonderful thing about middle grade. I feel like middle grade is like a book genre or age group that anyone can read, no matter the age, no matter if you're in your 40s or in your 70s or around 12 or 8 years old. I feel like you can be reading it because it'll relate to you in somehow or some way. And like you said, how Nancy Drew, you see the meaning of it when you were younger, you see the meaning of it now, and maybe you'll see the meaning of it later on in your life. But I just think it's so incredible. And like I said in my other response, it's just like that is the power and that is the point of storytelling, of how it can last for years and even like go through generations of families if it has an important role in their family. But I loved your response. That was such a nice way of seeing it. But now moving on to the next question I have for you. Was it hard to write a mystery adventure type book? I mean, I know like in mystery books, you kind of have to make sure that everything will add up in the end and all of the clues will all kind of fit together like a puzzle. All the puzzle pieces have to match together so you have a complete puzzle at the end of the day. And I'm just wondering, like, was it hard to do that? Was it challenging for you to execute that? Or was it like a walk in the park? What was your experience on that?
Writing a mystery can definitely be challenging. Initially, thinking about Sisterhood of Sleuths, I was going to say that it wasn't as challenging for me as the book scavenger mysteries. But then I was remembering that there's a totally different mystery in Sisterhood of Sleuths. There have been different iterations as I've worked on this story over the years. And so before this version, the final version that everyone can read, there was another version with a different mystery. And the problem with that draft was the mystery itself. It was not working and didn't really have much hope of being fixable. So I kind of had to start from scratch with the mystery. All the characters stayed in the story. But then in the new version, really, once I had the box of Nancy Drew books show up with the photo of the main character's grandmother in it, I knew what that all meant. And so that, I think, is a lot of times for me one of the most challenging parts of a mystery is I'll start writing pieces of it without knowing everything that's going on in the story. I'm kind of figuring out some things as I go along. And if some of the things that I'm figuring out have to do with, the mystery side, then that can make it really challenging because you might get to a certain point where you have to backtrack and change things to make sure it does add up. That happened to me for sure in the book scavenger books. But with this final version of Sisterhood of Sleuths, I knew I was going from the beginning. So in that respect, it wasn't challenging for me, but I did a lot of work to get to that point. So I have to keep that in mind too.
You know what? That is not the answer I was expecting. I have never heard that before. I have never heard, because I obviously don't do enough research, I know it's like very common probably, but I've never heard of like people having to completely like scrap kind of like the main premise of the book. So that's very interesting and very like, I don't know the term exactly, but like thank you for shedding some light on that kind of area of writing a book. I feel like authors usually don't say that because they don't really want to admit that they have to scrap their whole thing. So thank you for saying that. Thank you for letting me know that. That is so interesting. And I mean, I love this version. I'm sure the other version was fine, but I love this version. I love the Nancy Drew thing of it. So I do love this version a lot. And, sometimes you have to kind of like not be knocked down, but to not have everything work out perfectly for you because then your end result will be even better than you could have ever imagined in life and also with this book. So I think that was really great and everything happened how it was meant to happen. And now people all around the world, including myself, are reading this book. So it's really incredible and amazing to think that it started off to where you thought it was like unfixable. And now it's obviously people are reviewing it like me on podcasts and I'm sure YouTube channels and blogs and everything like that. So it's really incredible to see the whole journey that you've kind of gone on with this amazing book. So congratulations for making it to the finish line. I know it was like a few months back, but congratulations. Like I've said so many times, it's an amazing book. So thank you for bringing this out into the world. And now, sadly, the last question I have for you today is more of a fun question. I've been doing it here recently on my interviews, where I just try to do a fun question so we can actually get to know the author as them as a human and their likes and dislikes instead of just their whole journey that they've gone on with their book. So this fun question that I have for you is, if you could travel to any place in the world, where would it be and why?
Oh my goodness, where would I like to travel? There are so many places I haven't been, so it's a long list of places that I think would be neat to visit. Even just within the United States, I'd love to go to Mackinac Island in Michigan someday, Maine, lots of cities in the South, Savannah, and I'd love to see Eudora Welty's house in Mississippi, Nashville, and then outside of the United States, I've never been to Europe. I'd love to go to many countries, but at the top of my list is probably Spain and Italy. I'd love to go to Japan someday. I've always wanted to go to Peru, Canada, lots of places. It's hard for me to just pick one.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on the fact that, like, I just want to kind of go somewhere, like, completely new. Like, as much as I would love to stay, in the U.S., I kind of also would love to go and want to go somewhere out of the United States. And I think my first place that I would pick would be anywhere in the U.K. Like, literally take me anywhere in the U.K. I just want to go there for, like, a long time, though, like, probably for, like, a month. Like, I just want to be there and just be immersed in their culture and however they live over there, and just, I want to do everything. I want to go there. I also would love to go to Korea, which I feel like is not a place like many people are flocking to. But for me personally, there are these YouTubers that I watch on YouTube, and in some of their videos, they will be speaking like Korean and they will be eating Korean food. And it looks so good. It looks delicious. It looks so flavorful, so seasoned. So I feel like a reason I would go to Korea is for the food, but then somewhere in the UK for like the sights and the scenery and how beautiful the nature is and all of the buildings. So that's why I would go to the UK, and then that's why I would go to Korea. But yeah, I know what you mean. I have a list of places I could go to, but honestly, anywhere but where I live, I feel like would be a blessing and something that I would really enjoy. Just something new, really, something new in life. But hopefully one day you will get to go to at least one of those places. Hopefully one day I'll make it to the UK or somewhere in Korea. But unfortunately, we are at the end of this interview. So thank you so much for doing this interview here with me today. I really appreciate it. It was so much fun to hear from you. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this. And once again, thank you for allowing me to read and review your book on my podcast. It was so much fun, and this interview was so fun. So thank you so much. But yeah, so I guess this brings our interview to a close. So once again, for like 100th time, I feel like I annoy people with all the times I say thank you and how I love books so much. But thank you so much. I had a lot of fun, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great answering your questions, and I hope you have a great rest of your day too.
Hello, you guys. Did you miss me? I'm sure you did not. You just heard me like less than a minute ago. But yeah, so I'm back. It is the end of this episode. This episode is coming to a close. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode and for supporting my podcast. It means so much to me. So truly thank you. And thank you, Jennifer, for sending me your fantastic book. It was such an honor to read and review it and then get to interview you and have you on my podcast. It was so fun to collaborate with you. So thank you so much once again. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, you guys, I guess that's the end of this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Be sure to go check out this book, Sisterhood of Sleuths. You can just click the link in my episode description, and it will take you directly to a place where you can purchase this book. So be sure to go do that, and be sure to go support Jennifer by either following her on Instagram. Be sure to go follow me on Instagram as well, Strawberry Milkshake Podcast. But yeah, book lovers, always remember, keep your head in the clouds and your heart in a book, and I will see you guys very soon for another fun author episode. Bye, friends!